And a call to order the regular meeting of the Tilton Budget Committee. And first order of business, the meeting minutes. Had a chance to review it. Please do so now.
Should it say committee members up for re-election in 2017?
Yes, it should, because this is 2016. Just put for re-election in 2017 instead of this year.
Yeah, stipend.
Do you like that one?
Yes, I do.
Okay, a couple of things come up in here. One is that Mr. Hardy won't be here, and this really isn't an amendment to the meeting, but I just want to bring it up while I have it and while I think of it, okay? But before we do that, is there a motion to accept the minutes as written, or as corrected?
Make a motion to accept the meeting minutes of December 28th as corrected.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Abstain.
Abstain. I don't abstain. Jules abstained. Just wanted to say that the sign up for the re-election between the 25th and the 3rd. So just make sure that gets done then.
January?
Yeah. And March 3rd.
Oh, March 3rd.
January.
February 3rd.
I mean, February 3rd.
We'll get one of those months. July
Yeah.
3rd.
I had 3. I don't know why I did it. My fault. Okay, and the other is that Mr. Harvey will not be here until 8 o'clock. He'll get here as quickly as he can, so we'll wait to discuss the Parks Commission situation. Hi, Tim.
Hello.
Welcome.
I'm not really here.
You're not?
Over there.
All right.
But I'm here.
Hi, person that looks like Tim. Hi, person that looks like Tim.
Yeah, I thought it was Tim, but I guess I'm incorrect. John, do you have anything to bring us up to date on or to report?
Not that I can think of. Everything's been going pretty smooth.
How's the trash situation going?
It's
Good question.
the trash situation. And there's some things that we'll have to get ironed out at the meeting in March. There'll be a few different choices for the attendees to look at and vote on, and we're just putting a lot of that together now. Well, actually, probably tomorrow night we'll be doing that. But, they started, and I went over, I had the day off, and I caught up with them behind Dunkin' Donuts and greeted them to the town, and with all nice new equipment, and looked very enthusiastic, so they're off.
Okay. Any more complaints from townspeople, or is that settled down?
About the same.
There were some people that didn't realize that Monday was the pickup. Very few, though, in comparison to how many they pick up. It was just a handful. They came in on Tuesday.
Okay. All right, the next thing that we need to discuss is the situation with the quasi-organization we're talking about putting together for recreation for Tilton, or the possibility of it. And Eric, I know you had done some research and you might have some information for us.
Sure. I had contacted the town of Hampton and the program that is offered after school there. And it's similar to what the Pines offers, but it's not a community center. So all they do is they provide before school care and after school care. That's all they do. And they are a for-profit organization.
Oh, they are?
They are. They are not a 501c. It's a private, I don't know if you want to call it a public-private relationship, but they don't receive any funding from the town. They charge a fee for parents to go there. Or not for parents, for kids to go there. But the parents have to sign up. They send out a calendar like the middle of the month so around the 15th of January, they'll send out a calendar for the month of February. And marking which days are school days. And in the event of like an early release, they offer an expanded program, but they also, they charge, extra for that if there was an early dismissal because of weather and things like that, but they don't receive any funding from the town. The only funding, if you will, that they receive is that they are a designated bus stop. They also have 2 vehicles of their own, and they do go pick up kids. A couple other schools that are closer to them, but not in the same town, so they wouldn't have bus service there. So they have 2 minivans that they go out and pick kids up. They have every day they have between 20 and 30 kids that are coming to their thing. But they offer a lot of different options in terms of activities for the kids, but like in the summertime they have, or in the warmer weathers they have a pool. But they don't, the kids, looking at their programs and just talking to her, they offer quite a bit for the kids to do, but they peak out about 5th grade. They offer it to middle school, but they don't get that many middle schools just because a lot of what they kind of cater to what they have the most of, and they have mostly K through 5, and so they do a lot of arts and crafts and stuff like that. But then I've also talked to someone from Franklin, and they're looking at a teen center, and they're going to have teachers come in to help with tutoring, and because they're looking at a teen center in Franklin, which is going to be involved with the Pema Youth Center.
So Franklin is going to be involved with Pema Youth Center?
Yes.
Okay.
They actually, when they get these grants, they actually encourage them to create satellite or other locations, so that if they really wanted to, they could have one in every town. That may or may not be feasible, but it's going to be on I think it's going to be one of the buildings right in downtown Franklin, one of the office buildings, like right on Main Street or whatever that is, Central Street in Franklin.
And they already have the grant to fund that?
I don't know if they have a grant to fund that. I was talking more with the administrator from Franklin High School. But they, because they approached me about some stuff. But they you know, I think, it seems like they're a little further ahead in Franklin than they are here in Tilton. You know, and there's one woman that's kind of really tried to spearhead this because, you know, her child went to the Franklin rec, and then they outgrew that, and now that, you know, that their child is bordering on a teenager, is in middle school, in 6th grade, there's really not a lot of options for their child, and that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get homework help for the kids. The one thing with the Pemmy Youth Center that they do is they do provide a meal for the kids. They cook a meal for them at the end of the day to make sure that they're not going home hungry.
Is that all Pemmy Youth?
That's all Pemmy Youth.
Oh, wow.
Pemmy Youth, I know that in talking to Chief Cormier, they have a grant here that they can use for staff, but not bricks or mortar. I've been in contact with him about donating office space to them, but I haven't heard back. So, to get...
Now, they do have a homework club at the middle school.
Yep, they do.
And probably at the high school too, right? I don't know.
Here until?
Yeah.
Yeah,
when it's-
But that's run by the school, right?
yeah.
Right, but
Yeah.
they're
But
there already,
But
so.
with the, like up in Plymouth, what the kids do, like some of the college kids come down for community service hours and whatnot, they come down and they help the kids. So it's not necessarily their teachers that they're seeing, it's other people that get a different perspective, not a parent, but it's someone that's a little closer to their age, that, you know, may see some of the frustrations that they're having. And, you know, talking to them. I went up last year and I visited, or earlier this spring, or actually no, it's last year. I went up to the Pemmy Youth Center before they started their program, and it's, you know, it's a neat little space they got in there.
Well, I know that we all have agreed in the past, including, I believe, the selectmen, that our need is really for that group that isn't serviced by anybody right now. It's that teenage group that seems to be at risk.
Yeah.
And we do have the court diversion type program, which is offered by the youth assistance program.
Yeah.
But just for, I know that
Well,
some interviewing with young people in Tilton, their comment was that they didn't want to go to the Pines anymore. They wanted something located downtown where they would be able to go and get help with schoolwork and things of that nature, and play some, you know, I guess, board games or whatever. What have the selectmen done in pursuing a building? I know at one time that was in the air.
We put money aside, we have been looking. We had a couple real close situations where we would have been able to get some property, but that didn't pan out. It's kind of difficult to weigh the costs of purchasing and, you know, and access to something that's, you know, within walking distance of the high school is ideal, so that the kids can just sort of be there. And then in conjunction with Pemmy, could set something up. That was an ideal situation. But we're still open and looking.
Is there any continued dialogue between, I know Chief Cormier was the one interested in the Pemmy Youth and the Select Board?
I think right now that the thing is trying to look for a location. It's something that we can afford and that's accessible. That's the big thing.
Any more talk of, you spoke of getting like a trailer sort of pod or whatever to park on school property as a staging sort of area? I mean, I'm assuming that the teenagers are going to be taking a lot of trips, I hope, getting out and doing stuff too, so it would be, I don't know whether...
That's a really good idea.
You brought that up like about 6 months ago.
I probably did.
Yeah.
well, the one thing about, like, up in Plymouth, the Pemmy Youth Center, they don't charge for their services. Everything they provide is for free. in talking with the principal at the middle school here.
Well, I mean, they go on trips and they still, I think those are...
Well, yes and no, they don't go, the Pemmy Youth Center, they don't go on a lot of trips that I could see, or what I was told. They're trying to get a vehicle so they can take, like a 15-passenger van, so they can take the kids out and go do something. You know, in talking to the principal here, we've looked at maybe getting a vehicle to be able to transport kids, up to us. I mean, what we have to offer up there, we have to charge for it. I mean, you can't not.
Well, I think we understand that.
But
Right,
because what I think we could provide up there is, I mean, we have the recreation aspect of it, obviously through sports, but then we also have an area where there are kids in the world that don't like sports, but I think every kid needs something to wake up for, to get them going. They need a reason to get out of bed in the morning, not get in trouble.
You do sponsor trips, don't you?
We do, well, in the summer we do, and I've actually looked at trying to do a couple. The thing that scares me about trying to arrange something in the wintertime is what happens, if it snows. The bus company, you gotta take the safety of the kids as number one, but, we have space where we can have, I mean, we have a kitchen, we can have people come in, and we have a nutritionist that we work with, and, she's more than willing to come in and teach the kids a little bit about nutrition. And working with that, we've talked about the school. See, the school can't tell me who is, they can go through and see who needs financial assistance, but I can't do it because I'm not part of the school, but they have, because of the lunch program, the kids that get assistance through lunch are the kids that, they know that income-wise, they need the most help. But his hardest thing is, here's little Joey or little Sally, and she's a Sanborn resident. What do you do? If Sanborn won't come on board or Northfield won't come on board with this type of program, where we are a regional school district, But little Joey's in a Tilton resident in the town will help contribute to some of his costs. But yeah, we're looking at doing some nighttime, like on a Friday night type thing, going to the movies or going out on an adventure somewhere, renting a bus and doing that. I kind of have to wait for basketball kind of to calm down because a lot of the people I use are involved in either that or their kids are involved with basketball.
That is a good thought, though, about you will want to have it a regional thing.
But I think you have to start somewhere. It's, hey, look at the kids, and then you have to get the parent. I've had other parents from like Belmont and Laconia ask me where their kids can go. And this is just a personal thing, but you talk about you want it in downtown. But have you ever been inside any of these like smoke shops that are downtown and things like that? There's things that like they call glass, which could be used for drugs. The kid walks out the door of your youth center, makes a left, and he can turn right into a tobacco or something else. And it drives me nuts because you go down here, there's like 3 or 4 of them now, right in downtown Tilton. Where you want to put your youth, and out there.
Well, there's one right around the corner from you.
Yeah, but they can't walk there. They could, I guess, but
Yeah,
but
easily.
yeah, they can walk. But I think it's less likely they're going to walk down there because they're going to be more supervised and stuff. Where we are.
Well, I think, I agree we should do that. However, the majority of the kids would have access to something downtown.
Yeah.
And unless we made some arrangements for transportation, they wouldn't at, let's say, the Tilton Sports Center.
Right.
So I guess what we would need
Well,
to
what we'd have to
know,
look at is like what would it take to hire a bus to take kids home?
Exactly.
Through the.
and could the Winnipesaukee
I was just
Transit.
going to make that.
Not today, their bus was broken down in front of
Okay,
BJ's
but
today.
could they? I mean, would that be something they could provide?
Yeah.
They would obviously have to put another bus on, and it would have to be a
Or
different kind of
or they'd
route.
have to extend the driver. because,
Exactly.
You're
Exactly.
looking at something that the kids get done with, 5:30, 6 o'clock. And I don't know, I don't think they run past 4 on that Winnipesaukee.
I don't know. I don't know what their hours are. That's something we need to find out.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, what could you offer?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
may I, point of order here. Am I in a budget committee meeting or am I in a startup committee meeting for an
You're in a
alternative
budget committee
recreation
meeting,
committee?
Selectman Constantino, but we need to talk about, talking about setting money aside, which is what I would like to get to see how much money we might have to think about setting aside. We've set $1 aside. My next question after that was going to be whether or not we wanted to set some more aside or not. So, your point of order is recognized, however, that's the rationale behind it.
Then I think
Do we-
somebody should recuse himself.
Should I recuse myself?
I'm asking questions of him. He's not offering it, the information. I asked him to do some research. We talked at the last meeting, did we not, about possibility of having somebody else offer the services if they could?
And what would a fair amount be?
Exactly, which is what I'm trying to get to.
If we have a number of, projected number of kids and the cost and what the town would be contributing towards scholarships or transportation services, to
Exactly.
offer that as well as
Well,
anything else.
the place in Hampton, they charge $18 per person for their after-school program.
But you basically said that's babysitting.
Well, it is, but it's an I mean, you have to, I haven't been able to find, a lot of things that I've been able to find were, like YMCA's, and that's more of a membership,
Yeah,
based.
but it's a non-profit organization.
Sure, but they don't have like a per-day type thing. It's
And the
like-
boys' club in,
Yeah, I didn't look at the boys' club or on either side of us, I didn't look at those.
but there's a boys' club in Franklin, is there not?
There's a Boys and Girls Club of, that chapter is based out of Concord. I think they're all out of Concord. This is
Okay.
Boys and Girls Club of the Lakes region, and this is Boys
Yeah.
and Girls Club of Franklin,
Yeah.
so,
But despite the fact that they have the Boys and Girls Club, they're still looking to do something for that at-risk population?
yes.
Okay, which I think is
There's a-
important.
Yeah,
Which I think is what we're talking about.
the Franklin program is probably going to be functional at some point this academic year.
Okay.
So I had a question. If we were to go and put some funding in to provide scholarship or to augment getting some type of after-school program going, what would that amount look like? I know it might start out as limited space this year and then see where it goes, or what,
Well, I guess
Question.
it's a tough question, because it all depends, there's a lot of variables to that.
You talked about the $18, which Hampton,
Yeah.
okay, would that be a fair figure to look at?
Yeah, that's a fair figure. I mean, you can look at it different ways. You can, they receive some state, because they take some state aid.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure what it's called, but I forgot the name of the program. But it's income-based, so they get, John may be able to afford 50% of that cost. So,
So it's a sliding scale.
yeah, it's a sliding scale. Everyone is you could, do it, but they're not privy, they just get it from the state.
So the Pines said how many Tilton residents? 300 and, you have that figure right handy?
over the year.
Yeah. Do you have that, Eric? I don't have that sheet with me. And if we use $20 as a base figure, I'm just trying to look at how much we need to set aside from, as opposed to that dollar.
Well, if we, let's say, if you take the number of days a week, or the number of days that service would be offered, and then,
It'll be 5.
Well, for instance, according to what they gave us, the
Well, that's all we have to go by is what they
scholarship
gave.
financial aid that they offered in 2016 for 8 children was $2,664. I don't know what that comes out to per child.
Was that 8 children in Tilton?
Yes, they did 9 in Northfield.
What was the total number of residents in Tilton that they served? Let's start with that.
should be right on that cover sheet that they filled out.
Yeah. That sheet.
See attached. Broken out by program. So if you do, like they call it the after-school blast. They had, January to June, they had 17 kids from Tilton. Current they have 13. For their summer program, they had 31.
And that's from Tilton.
Yeah, and they also had a counselor and training program. And they had 3 Tilton residents.
So we have a total of time.
I mean, that's one way to do it is to break down. I mean, we could, anybody think of maybe just a lump sum and just see how it goes? And I know that's kind of loosey-goosey, but I think,
Well, I was trying to
total
figure out the
50.
total number of people that they serve, young people that they serve in Tilton.
yeah,
If we get the total figures that they're telling us that they service, and then we could attach a dollar figure per person.
For the whole, the total of those 3 would be 51.
Okay.
When they have a basketball program that had 21 residents, but that's pay to play. They have field hockey, which is again pay to play.
Those are all pay-to-plays.
Yeah, they had, soccer, pay to play. Some of the other stuff that they
So
have.
I guess if you look at that number, if you look at how much we're providing, it seems like an extremely large amount that it's costing us.
yeah.
Back here, it says
Building
monthly,
here.
monthly sign into building was 506. That was just September 1st to September 28th.
But that
That could be all
doesn't,
programs,
that's
yeah.
all, that's
but
not,
you don't know
that's
what that
pay
is.
for play, that's
And then-
meetings that they hold there that they get
Yeah.
money from.
Dinners,
Yeah.
breakfasts.
The senior lunch, it says they get 10 to 12 a week.
So what seems fair to money to set aside, or do we want to keep it as a dollar just to keep the line open there?
Well, I think, didn't we already discuss to put in about 30,000?
I don't think we came up with a figure, did we?
Well, we discussed figures. We didn't say a dollar, we didn't decide on a figure, but I think
We put a dollar down
About
there.
30.
Nice
We
to
put
have
a dollar.
20, yeah, I know, we put a dollar, but we did, the numbers that went about, I think were like 20,000 or
Well,
30,000.
what I'm trying to get at, we're going to be going to a town meeting, and
Right.
if somebody gets up and makes a motion to change the amount we're giving to the Pines, and say that we have come up, with the needs and how much we use the Pines, I think, at least what's coming very clear to me is that we don't get that kind of services from the Pines. Or does anybody else, how does other people feel about it? How do other people feel about
Oh,
it?
yeah, no, I agree, that's what I think we all kind of agreed on that, more or less. That was the feeling.
Yeah, we'll have to come up with some type of number before we put anything in there to,
Yeah.
you know, to,
Yeah.
and then the rationality behind it. How many kids it would serve, how many days a week.
Because I think that that's what we came up with, that we're not gonna be able to go to town meeting and just say, well, we set this money aside, without some rationale for how many young people we're servicing now, and how many we could service if we allocated so much per child.
And
From
let's
some
set
other
that amount,
service, yeah.
we'll have to come up with some type of
Yes.
proposal. Which
I mean, and-
possibly when Bob comes in and
We
ask
can
them
talk,
if
we
they,
can ask them about
you know, if they
that.
have any programs or anything.
Because you brought up Parks and Recreation. Problem with that, you get into wages of a recreation director and so on, which I don't
Well, I
think is
didn't mean that that's the way to go.
No, but it's something to think about.
Yeah.
So basically, all we have is the budget committee's put a placeholder in there.
Yeah, and what, do we want to keep that at $1 until town meeting, or do we want to be prepared to come up with something other than that amount? And give everything else to the Pines?
I think we should think of a generic number, you know, it's a ballpark figure. I don't think we have to have it all ironed out. We're not, it's just so much going on, and we
What do you think, John?
feel like,
Well, it's a good idea, but to put some number with a purpose and, you know, so that we can explain
Oh,
to the
right,
voters
yeah.
that we're not
No,
just
a
putting
purpose,
some money
yeah.
aside for
Yeah.
it, that
no, yeah,
That-
definitely.
this is,
This is
what
why
it's
we
there
chose
for,
this amount, yeah.
Specifically what,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, somehow.
general, in
It's
general
tough to-
terms, though. I don't think we're gonna be able to get,
Well, that's why I was trying to look for a number, if we could do $20 a person, but I think that's low.
Well, it depends
it
on,
is low, because it isn't the building costs, and,
Right.
I believe, let's say you
But we
wanted to do
contract
the-
services from somebody else.
yeah, we could,
Like last year, I believe the Pines program for their summer did the full, like the before and after, like they had their main program, let's say, I don't know the exact hours, I'll just say 9 to 3. And if you want to do the early drop-off, there was a fee, and then if you did the late pickup, there was a fee. I think the total combined was approximately $90, so, a week. And if you look at that number, $90 a week, and then, let's just say you have, they only offer, I believe, 8 weeks of camp. So if you take that number, and then let's say you had 10 kids, that's, what, $7,200 roughly? Just to get them through the summer. But, again, you know, what you go through, would probably have to go through the welfare director for assistance.
All right. Well, we don't have anybody coming in for 25 minutes, so why don't we take a break, a stretch break, and
Jean's gonna run over and get coffee for us.
we can make coffee downstairs.
Run over to the Apple.
hopefully they get here early.
Was he in a meeting, Johanna?
No, I believe he's working with a personal trainer.
He what?
He's working with a personal trainer.
Oh. I'm gonna go downstairs and make a cup of coffee.
You have to stop the video, or did you cut a recess? Are we taking a recess
Yeah.
or a break?
Yeah.
Can you turn the camera?
I got half an hour.
Could do a motion to do that, to take a recess, or? You
Yeah,
just
do
call it?
we,
Make a
I'll make a
motion.
motion to recess for 15 minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. I don't think we had to do that, John, but
Oh,
I don't know
I
that.
guess I just hit pause. You would think, no,
So it's always Joe that does it on the selectmen's meeting.
Huh?
Yeah. Now I can have that stupid song in my head. Oh, you.
Thank you for coming.
Oh, no problem.
I don't know if you know, Our sheet to sign isn't here, so...
I got it.
You got him? You sure you know? I don't know whether you know everybody. We'll go around and introduce
Jules Harvey.
Jane Alden.
I'm John.
Gee, I don't think I know you.
Eric Myers.
Yes, Eric. I'm Bob Hardy, so.
We cut some money out of your budget, Bob. And, I guess what we'd like you to do is talk about why you requested what you requested, and
Okay.
talk to us a little bit about that.
Pretty much everything we requested is what we felt we needed. I mean, we requested 10.6 for landscaping, which included riverfront, Vest Pocket, 132, and Civil War. Now, we've talked with the Highway Department, and they're willing to do 132 Vest Pocket, Buffalo, and possibly Civil War, but they're not ready to take on Riverfront. But we still had to budget because they have nobody in-house that can apply pesticides or fertilizers on any of the parks. So we needed 380 in Vest Pocket, which was what was we paid this year for the pesticides and fertilizing in Vest Pocket, 3,120 for 132 ball field. The 500 for Civil War was including the mowing there. That's the bid price for last year for Civil War, including the fertilizing, pesticides, and weeding of the flower beds around the statue. Again, talking with Public Works, they're not ready to take on any weeding, or they really didn't feel they could take on Civil War with the mowing. They said that they didn't have a problem. 132 was straight mowing. It's quick, easy. It's not as critical that it's done on a schedule. Riverfront, they realized that we need that mowed once a week during the summer, and that's really critical that it's mowed. And they've never, when they used to mow it, they could never do it on a weekly basis. Things would come up and it would run for 10 days, 12 days before they could get in there and mow, and the grass would get long, and then you're left with all these cuttings because they didn't want to rake it. And they said maybe a year or so down the road, when they get more experience and all the new guys are trained, then maybe they would be willing to take Riverfront on. But at this point, they didn't want Riverfront, so that was, we budgeted a little bit more than what we had spent this year on Riverfront because the contract is up on Riverfront, and we are going to have to go out for a new contract for landscaping on Riverfront. We're not sure if the present contractor is even going to submit a bid. He didn't do everything we wanted. He said that even though we had a contract, he didn't realize what he was bidding on when he bid the contract. And consequently, I'm not sure he's going to bid again this year for it. So we'll be putting that out to bid very shortly. We budgeted $2,000 for Riverfront for security repairs. That's just if something happens. We did not use that this year. We were fortunate. Last year, we went over the 2,000. We had, I think it was almost 7,000 last year for repairs down there.
Can't remember what they all were, but
The big thing was that heat
Right.
malfunctioned and fried the computer system in there. So to be on the safe side, we did budget 2,000 again this year just to cover ourselves if there's something there. We put in 2,000 for arborist work. That's a standard figure that we've been spending about 2,000 every year, every 2 years on the parks doing arborist work. What that entails is climbing the trees, cutting out dead branches, removing trees if they have to. The big one this year is Civil War. That's where we're looking. There's a lot of dead branches in those sugar maples that border that have got to come out this year. So a little bit in Riverfront, removing some, but not that much there. So operating cost, I can go down through everything if you want, but we just budgeted on the operating costs, the exact cost that we spent this year on electricity, sewer, water, cleaning, irrigation, porta potties. The porta potties are at the 132 ball field and at the Riverfront at Christmas for the Christmas parade, because the water's turned off there, so we can't use the bathrooms there. Miscellaneous supplies, and that totaled $8,745. Program cost, unfortunately, we had hoped to be able to offer the Let's Go Fishing program again, but Fish and Game will not do the Let's Go Fishing program. For whatever reason, they feel the river is unsafe for the program, and they will not put the program on there. And where you have the program, we said, well, what if we used like Ice House Pond or one of the ponds, or the hockey pond up on prep school property, and they need some place where they can get inside to do the classroom portion at the pond location. We just don't have anything at Ice House or at the hockey pond. We even said, well, what about down at the school? It's not that long. And they said, no, it's got to be right next to the pond. So the fishing program isn't going to happen. We are planning the animal education programs, again, as we call it. It's the wildlife encounters. We do 2 shows, one usually in June, one in September. We're averaging somewhere around 75 to 100 participants at those shows. This year, the June show had almost 150 people there. The big thing for program cost is the Christmas parade. We did increase it this year to $1,600. That's for purchasing the stuffed animals that Santa gives out. Years past, K Jewelers has donated what's been turned back to them for their fundraisers they've donated to us. Last year, Bob Cormier, the police chief, at the last minute raised almost $2,500 through private donations to pay K Jewelers for those stuffed animals. This year we did take some of our surplus and purchase them ourselves through another source, and just didn't bother dealing with K Jewelers, and we didn't feel it was right to ask Bob to go out via Facebook to his friends asking for that kind of donations and everything. The fireworks this year have gone up. It's going to cost us $2,000. There's a new state law that went into effect that requires a $500 insurance that the guy's got to pay. So he's pushing that right on to us, so that's why that's up from years past. Commission cost is just the standard stuff. We have $200 for postage, $400 for advertising, miscellaneous dues, meetings that we may attend, our stipends, and $1,200. We've budgeted an additional $2,000 down in commission costs to cover security in all the parks. We're looking to actually get some cameras up at the 132 ball field because we're unfortunately continuously getting break-ins at the snack shack, and the storage shed up there has been broke into. I think this year it was broken, the snack shack was broken into 3 different times, so we've got to get some security up there, so we put $2,000 in there. Maintenance cost is our summer maintenance person that works at the park, and that's what we spent this year on that, was $7,410. He does general maintenance 3 days a week at Riverfront, and did some spraying for us up at 132 as well, so. And that's pretty much the breakdown of the budget, so. Questions?
132 ball field.
Yes.
Have you thought of asking the people who make use of that field to contribute at all to the upkeep of it?
The school has been the big person up there in the past. The school has backed out of that field considerably. They're using it just for JV and middle school games now. Baseball teams, the Little League, it doesn't have the fence that's needed to hold games there, so they just practice there. They can't hold actual games on the field because it's not fenced, and to fence that would prohibit any other use because the fence would go through the middle of the field. Any organization that isn't connected with the school or the youth basketball program, or not basketball, sorry, baseball program, we do require them to pay unless it's just a family that's using it for family organizations. We've had a couple teams that have run camps up there, and they do have to pay when they use the fields for those camps and everything. Our feeling was that it didn't make sense to charge the school because we're going to be paying either through town tax or through additional cost at the school to have the school offset it. The youth programs, I suppose we could. We haven't talked to them, but where it's just used for practice, I don't think they'd be willing to pay for it and everything, so.
Questions, comments?
Is there a baseball field dug into the field there, or is it?
No. There used to be, when the field was first developed, they had a diamond set up there, but there was no backstop for it, and it wasn't getting used at all, and it was impeding on the football field and everything, so the grass was just let grow through the sand. It wasn't any sort of a ledge pack or anything. It was just a sand area that was diamond off. So we talked with Peter's talked with the Baseball Association, and without the fence in the outfield, they can't use it for a game. For practice purposes, they don't need a diamond.
Couldn't you put up a temporary fence in the outfield though?
It has to be a 4-foot high.
I'm familiar with what it needs to be, but there's, I don't know what the right word is, but there's ways to,
Circumvent.
well, to circumvent the challenge of the fence. There's ways now, and there's companies that sell temporary fencing, and sometimes some of these places, even just, even the orange snow fence is acceptable to some of the club programs.
My understanding was it had to be a rigid fence. Talking with Peter for the, trying to think of the baseball group there.
Tilton North Little League.
Little League, yes.
Yeah.
Or Babe Ruth, it needs to be a solid fence that you can run. So I don't think the orange fence, the snow fence that you're talking, we can check into it. We haven't, we had looked at one time about putting like cylinders in the ground, but when we talked with different organizations, they recommended not putting anything in where you're playing football, that if a kid falls and
Kids don't get hurt.
hits one of those metal things, the liability is too good. And to just put a hole down and then pull the fence out didn't make sense either, because then you got an open hole there and everything. So I can check.
It's down in, you've been in Little League. Down in Canterbury at the elementary school, they don't have a permanent fence in the outfield there.
No, it's
like a snow
it's
fence.
it's not a snow fence, but it's
It's
I
not
wouldn't
rigid.
call it's not a permanent, but it is somewhat semi-rigid, like some
But I
kind
think they
of.
just use like farmer stakes, and then they hook it on there, and that's what.
Yeah,
goes up there.
it's not, I mean, it's something they can move, yeah.
Because they take it down, because they play soccer on it in the fall, but in
Yeah.
the summer, when it's Little League and
Yeah, it's
baseball
not as
season,
flumpy as a snow fence, but it's not as permanent as
A
a
wire fence? with-
chain.
It's
It's like a plastic. I think it's a type of plastic, or coated.
That netting kind of plastic?
I
It
wouldn't
looks
call
like
it
a big
netting.
net?
No, it
Well-
looks like a fence, but I mean, it serves the purpose.
I have a catalog, so
There's also a really nice scoreboard there at 132.
Right.
I mean, that is a beautiful scoreboard. Well, last time
Copper
I
does
saw it,
it, well, the copper's been stole off of the copper ground's been stole twice off of it. That's why we're saying that we gotta start putting,
Put a fence charge around.
yeah. We'll have to buy that.
Electrify the fence.
But these organizations that use it, do you collect any revenue from that, from the Little League, or
not from the Little League, no.
what about the school and the football?
No, again, the school, we just felt that it was foolish to charge the school and then pay, either pay through school taxes or town taxes that they were gonna have to pay, and the Friends of Winnisquam football originally was the ones maintaining the field. They were cost sharing in the seeding and watering. They did the actual watering during the summertime up there. Since the high school has moved the varsity team to the high school, the Friends of Winnisquam turned the snack shack over to the town. They don't want the snack shack anymore, and we inherited all of the equipment in the snack shack free of charge, and the snack shack, so
Do you sell snack, do we get revenue from that?
if it's used, it's not used right now, it wasn't used this year at all. We could if we had people willing to staff it during the middle school or JV games, we could use it as a fundraiser and everything, but we haven't been able to find anybody willing to staff it during the games and everything. So right now, it's just sitting there, not being used.
That thing's being stolen from it, so we have to put cameras on it.
Actually not being stolen, they're just breaking into
Okay.
it. There's nothing in it to steal except the friolators and stuff to make the snacks and stuff. There's nothing, no supplies in the building. That's the other thing. We'd have to purchase all that sort of stuff, so.
The fees, once they come in, do they go into the general fund, or do they go into the
The revolving fund.
revolving fund, so that's the rec fund, right?
Right.
Yeah, they have two capital reserve funds. One is the Recreation Capital Reserve Fund, which is not revolving, but the Park Commission is agents for, and the other is the revolving fund, which they're also agents for, but they can use for expenditures. And they do have money that goes into that.
Is that, did that come with the thing for the budget committee? The income statement and the revolving account? I didn't see it.
No, there's not a lot of income that's come in over the course of, I think it's been in existence
I mean,
4 years now?
The fees,
I think about 4 years. It really is mostly generated from their primary events, like the parade, things of that sort.
The parade is
That's the major.
generating for us. I mean, we sell the raffle tickets, and we go around and solicit donations for the parade. We ask any of the floats that participate to give a donation to the parade. That goes in, so.
that should actually be part of what comes to the budget committee. The statement of that,
Okay,
you know, what the incomes are and how much is in
I
the
can
account.
provide that.
you can,
Yeah.
Yeah, the only commercial one I can recall, there was a company that held a training session at the Park Pavilion, the riverfront, and I think they paid $100. So outside of that, everything else has been donations or donations related.
yeah, that was, well, it's Eversource now, but it was Asplund's.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. They were training their
Because they're
power
really,
line crews. and-
they're really strict requirements as to fees at Riverfront Park because of the funding that was used to build it. So there's only certain circumstances where they can charge a fee
Does
for the
rent
use of the
go
park.
to- To rent the park, does it all go to the parks?
It does.
Bob, I know, you know, over the past 10 years or more, I don't know, we've been having an ongoing thing with, you know, between Public Works, who's going to mow it, who can use what mower, who can't use what mower, who's allowed to do that, and it's been basically a cluster. You know, I look at, we've got, compared to last year, we've got 2 additional employees down at the Public Works Department. And we have a director that works real hard. We've got new equipment. I think they're very capable people, and, you know, they're just as good as whatever the landscape guy is going to get, or better. We've been sending them to trainings for pruning, you know, and doing some of this stuff.
They don't want to do it, John. We talked to them, they will not, they don't have the time.
It's not that they don't want to do it. They're not capable of carrying on that job. They've already spoken to us,
I
John,
can't
about
see
that.
why you can have a Public Works Department with 6 professional people in there that have been doing this their whole life. There's more people than there were in any other years. We have two zero-turn mowers and we're paying somebody else to mow the lawns there. This is, I get the same thing.
And I have
The
to-
voters come to me and they go, why are we subcontracting out lawn mowing? And I think it's to say that our employees can't mow lawns or do any pruning. It just seems,
We've put on hold for the last 10 to 15 years. Ditching, we've put on hold all of our sides of our roads, everything that's gone on hold. All of that needs to be done, and it's been put on hold for 10 to 15 years.
to mow a lawn in the, let's say, the park downtown Riverfront, two guys on zero-turn mowers, how long would that take?
Takes the crew, the landscaper, about 3 hours.
3 hours.
2 people down there, 3 hours.
Okay, so that's 6 man-hours a week. We have an additional 80 man-hours a week that is available to the Public Works that we didn't have before. And if it doesn't rain, we get a dry spell, we're still paying the contract, right? To the landscapers, but we're not paying it to them. It just,
But
I
you
don't know
gotta,
anybody.
John,
I can't see
rain
it.
doesn't matter because we irrigate down there, so that has to be.
Last year.
We didn't last year because the river was down and the lawn burned up.
Well, also,
Normal year, that lawn is irrigated regardless of what we get for weather. If we get an inch of rain, the irrigation, there's a sensor on it that doesn't turn on.
So it would be 6 hours a week.
well, Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, but we didn't actually pay the full contract amount either, because we withheld most of the money for weeding, did we not?
We withheld,
So we basically only paid them to mow.
correct, yes. And that 6 hours is just the mowing. That doesn't include the weeding, that doesn't include the brush work on the other side of the pavilion wall. That's all additional work.
And that's the
That-
$7,000, right?
Right,
Okay.
that's in the 6,600. The 6 hours was just what he spends each week mowing down there. He also does a spring cleanup and a fall cleanup. He also spreads the bark mulch. That's in this figure, the cost of the bark, and putting bark mulch out there on all of the beds, as well as the fertilizing and pesticides that's used. And we do 5 sprayings of pesticide fertilizing during the course of the summer down there, so.
It seems like some of these services could be provided in-house, and we've got guys going through training. The maintenance, Paul has license and certification for doing the pesticides and fertilizers.
He has, I'm not sure about fertilizer, he has the pesticide license. I don't think he has the fertilizing license.
I
And
know the guys are getting the training, I don't know if they've completed it yet for the
Takes a year.
fertilizer.
It'll take a year to get all
I
of
just,
that.
can you see where I'm coming from?
I know where you're coming from,
We
John,
probably
I
have
agree, but
$30,000
from
worth
my
of-
standpoint, we've talked to Public Works, and they say they can't handle it this year. They'd like to help us, they've taken on Vest Pocket, Buffalo they did last year. Again, last year, I went down to Buffalo several times, and the
They did.
grass was this high around the parking lot. It hadn't got mowed. And I'd have to call them up and say, hey, you got to get out there and mow again.
That was last year. We didn't have a Public Works Director all last year, so. So, now, Vest Pocket, it says 380, so we can take that out?
No, that's the fertilizing and the pesticides there.
Paul can do the pesticides.
We still have to pay for the pesticides.
$380 to do that little tiny lot,
That's what they charged.
plus $7,410 for a guy to buy it? I just, I'll stop. I think you understand.
I know where you're coming from. I agree, John, but
It's,
And we also talk with Public Works, and we know that next year they'll be able to help us out. We do understand that.
good, because I agree with John, but when I go to it, they say, no, we can't do it this year. We're still learning the ropes. We've got to get caught up on
I
it.
can't see why you need to learn the ropes on mowing the lawn. I think this is the craziest thing, because I totaled out the hours, and we have so many extra hours with the new guys there, and, we originally, we went to this level of employees at Public Works to eliminate having to hire the summer help. Summer help was just part-time and not as experienced as...
And winter
efficient.
help.
And the winter help. And I just...
Yeah, but what we did is we really just took the winter help and the summer help, and we just basically added on spring and fall. So there's still the same number of people working in the summer that were working last summer. It's the spring and the fall where we technically added I think I'm correct, maybe I'm not.
We had,
Well, we technically only added spring hours and fall hours. We already had people that we had to go out and search every year. Yeah, I remember last year, if I remember correctly, I'm getting old, that last year you guys had difficulty finding a temporary summer person. And I think you were almost into July before you hired someone.
And we had winter people that broke the equipment and,
Well, we have people that break the equipment.
no, but we did. We had
No, but-
all kinds of equipment problems.
Well, we really
you got an
added,
employee, you get
but
that.
we've really
Not
only
only-
added spring and fall.
Exactly.
That's where we've really added on. We've always had a director. What was it before? Was it a 4-person crew plus a director?
Last summer, we had 2 people and
I'm not counting,
no director.
take last summer out.
Person and a director.
Yeah.
So we've always been, so this year, all we've added is, we've added a person in the spring and the fall, and that's all we've really added. Because we've always had a director.
I have a problem with I have a problem with the mowing too. I mean, it's just inconceivable to me that,
I have,
but, and the other thing is the 132 ballpark.
They do the 132.
No, I'm just the whole cost of that, something that I don't think we get that much good out of, but that's just me.
The 3,120 is for,
That's for fertilizing and pesticides up at the 132 ball field. That's what they charged. And I'd have to double look at that. I forget, I think they did a fall cleanup up there too. The contract was for a fall cleanup, but I think we took that out. I think it's just for the 5 fertilizings during the year and 3 pesticide spraying, so,
that's the 132, that's what this is.
yes. Yeah, the 3120. Because I will say that between Peter and the highway department, they did the mowing up there. Last year, Peter did all the mowing himself up there with our zero-turn mower, and this year, Peter and the highway department, Peter would do it 1 week, the highway department would do it 1 week. The highway department says they will do it this coming summer completely without Peter's help, so that frees Peter up and everything, that he doesn't have to donate all that time to run the mower, but
and on the fireworks, do we bid that out? Do we get 3 bids on that?
we have in the past, we'll have to go back out this year to bid and everything.
I think the Old Home Day is doing that too, I think.
Yes, they've asked us for who we get, because their cost is way higher, way more than what we get and everything.
Yeah, I suggested that Deb call you, because I couldn't believe the difference in what you were paying and what they had been
Yeah.
paying.
But
ridiculous.
it is a different grade. We only use Class C, I think it is, fireworks, and theirs is different class and
Yeah,
everything.
they
so-
use more of the big boom
Yeah,
explosion ones where you guys use the smaller.
smaller stuff, so I'm not, we'll bid it out, but I'm not sure how many people actually do just the Class C fireworks and everything, so.
I wonder if, if you talk to Deb and say, hey, can you give us a price, we'll pay it separately or something.
Well, them said
Keep
their
that down.
whole home though is like 8,000.
I just have a question, Bob, because I completely agree with the whole, Public Works, doing all of our parks, sort of thing. So, but the question I've got is, does it make sense to look at spending some money at Riverfront, reconfiguring some of the beds that maybe take so much weeding, and maybe putting in ground cover in areas where there's such high maintenance costs? Or doing something like that so that it's easier for the town to maintain in the future?
The big beds already have ground cover in it, and again, if you get in there first thing in the spring and weed it, I don't think you'd have a problem all summer long, but the problem is they don't get in early enough in the spring, and that's why we withheld the
The weeding from...
weeding from the contractor, because he's supposed to be in there on a weekly basis weeding. And we have documentation that he wasn't in there the first month and a half doing any weeding, and consequently, it got ahead of him, and once it goes to seed, then you've got the problem that it's continually coming up, and
I guess I was just thinking, and I know very little bit about, changing plants where, you wouldn't get that kind of stuff, but, and then also, it seems as though you ask some people about weeding, and they talk about how you gotta go all the way down through the root and get the whole thing, and other people is, just where it's not visible. So, have you all looked at what is a reasonable maintenance schedule for the park, weeding-wise, or?
we've talked to UNH on the weeding, and they recommend weeding it weekly, and then you get anything that's coming up when it's small enough that you can pull the roots out. The problem being is that, like the vetch and the clover, when it's got a top showing that's this big, and you just snap it off, well, the roots are all there, and they just, if you get that when it's real small, you alleviate the problem and everything. So, and the brushing on the river edge over the wall, I mean, that's straightforward. If you brush it once a month, you don't have a problem there. And again, he said we spec'd it as once a year brush hogging or weed whacking, and when we pointed it out to him, he started doing that, so that alleviated that problem and everything, so.
Okay. I just thought maybe if there was some way to reconfigure to make it less maintenance intensive.
I mean, where the beds are, for the most part, is on the steep slopes, so to do away with those would create a mowing nightmare, and even like where we've got the juniper right above the parking lot, if you go through that once in the spring, you should be good, but when you got tree seedlings up this high coming out of the juniper, it tells me that it hasn't been, I know a seedling doesn't grow that fast, and he didn't get it into the spring and everything, so.
Thanks.
Okay. All right, Bob, thank you very much. Well,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you very much. I'm sorry to put you through so much.
Oh, no, that's,
Better understanding.
You got a good understanding.
Next year will be easy because there won't be anything on the landscape line.
Hopefully. I hope I'd love to see that, John.
Ag Center, we should use
I
kids.
put the Buffalo Park with a weed whacker this.
Oh, yeah.
What?
I've talked to
Use
them
the Ag Center.
about it and everything.
Doubt that's gonna work.
Mike,
Yeah, the
No, the woman there.
Janet Center, yeah.
Janet Rose.
I'm on their advisory
Kids aren't-
committee now and everything.
She can't help?
artificial turf, how expensive is that?
They're very leery because of time constraints and everything. They can help in the spring and they can help in the fall, but they don't have the personnel during the summer time and everything. So we talked, they were supposed to help us on Salmon Run this year, and it never came through. I don't know what happened there, but they were supposed to spend a day or two out on Salmon Run helping remove some of the brush there on the peninsula, and I don't know why it fell through, whatever.
I got
Like you. They didn't like
Oh, that
John.
part, yeah. Yeah. That's next year. Pat gave me a really nice cutter, and I want to get out there and use that this year. Started making the island visible. Next year, I'm going to move upstream. Like beavers.
He's gonna take me next summer.
Good.
Sit in the shore and pull the rope.
So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you soon.
So how do you feel about, should we put the money back? How do you feel? You're saying no. No. I think he's caught between a rock and a hard place because I think they got the same answer that we got from the highway department, that they can help, but not this year.
I'll look to you guys.
I make a motion to put the $10,000 that we took out back in. Is there a second?
Second it for discussion, so we can talk about it.
Did we just take it out of the bottom line, or did we just,
We took it out of their line, so it came out of the bottom
so
line.
out of the 39,000,
Yeah.
we knocked it down to 29,000? So it wasn't from any particular area?
No,
It just
it wasn't
seems like
even, it was
there's
just the bottom line.
more going on at the highway garage. It, like, what is it, what is their real feeling on this whole thing? Do they not want to? There just seems like there's more to the story here that we're missing. I don't understand
I
why.
think Eric brought up a good point, that we really just have you don't really have that many more people, you've just got them spread out over different times, but I think we have a good highway crew now, and I think that Brock is committed to doing what he says he will do, and that next year he will take over that part which he can't help us with this year. I know for a fact that we've gotten very behind in things. I've been out on some of the jobs. I've seen how far behind we've gotten in some of the areas of ditching, and it's a mess all over town. So I guess in good faith, I think to take the $10,000 out of the budget, it's the town that's going to suffer, because we're going to have areas that aren't mowed, that are going to be overgrown with weeds. I believe Bob, when he says he's going to go out for bids for fireworks, which he never has before, for the weeding and all, I believe that he will do that. He will pursue that.
Yeah, I do too.
So,
So,
rather than have, I guess, what people's, I'm sorry, yes, Selectman Constantino.
There are areas over Riverfront Park, other than landscaping, that have not been dealt with for a few years, they've been after highway crew to get after, to maintain the building, the railings, and things like that. Last year, we got a lot of it done late fall in a short period of time, a very short period. There's still a lot more on the inside of the pavilion needs to be restained, things like that. The cement, the benches need to be reseated into the cement. There's a lot of things that need to be done over there that have been, I'm not going to use the word neglected, but we didn't have the
Manpower?
direction, leadership to maintain it on a regular cycle, and therefore it got set aside for other things. And that's not something that the Parks Commission had, because it's a town building, that had anything to do. So Highway it's not that Highway's not doing anything with parks or anything like that. They're maintaining these buildings. They're maintaining these structures, along with a lot of the other things, that they're staining a lot of stuff when they get painted and nasty letters on them and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of things that were overlooked and not managed correctly, I would say, that are now being caught up on. It takes a year, for Jules' question, it takes a year for the pesticide and fertilizer licensing for them to go to school. They've been all scheduled for schooling this coming year to have that under their belt. Every one of them have been in going to the schools. He doesn't feel comfortable to get what has already been promised to us as a department head and take on that responsibility in addition to, and get that done as well. I think that's the issue, and that there's nothing hidden around it. And to get the riverfront, which is Catherine and Peter's passion, to get it up to snuff in the way it really should be looked.
I would like to see what Tim suggested about, I haven't been down there, but obviously we can all look at this over the summer and see if maybe there's a more efficient way of doing it.
We do inspections before it's rented. We do a walkthrough, the selectmen do, before it's rented. And it was a real eye-opener for me to see the amount of places where they have to maintain.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work over there.
Well, maybe we can lessen the load somehow.
I agree.
I have a question. I was watching a selectmen's meeting, and unfortunately I did not watch this part, but there was discussion about the gentleman, I can't think of his name, that owns the riverside.
Oh, Cropsey?
Cropsey, thank you. There was discussion about winter maintenance of the walkway from his parking lot on Mill Street to that. And one of the things it could have been resolved, and I don't know that yet, but one of the questions was what benefit, what gives the town the edge? What about if he contributed not just the winter maintenance, if the town was able to plow that sidewalk and whatever the exchange, but what if he was able to contribute to the summer maintenance? Because even in the summertime, he does benefit from, beautiful gardens there where people, come book, makes that upstairs business successful in his building. But what if there was some negotiation there that the town could do with him regarding upkeep of the park? Because a beautiful park benefits him. If that park gets overrun with weeds and there's areas that are neglected, okay, well, it's going to cost $6,600 to maintain the park this year. You pay $3,000 of it. I apologize if it's resolved, and it's resolved and I'm too late, but I did not
Well, I
finish that.
think that he has an easement for the sidewalk, doesn't he, from Black Swan Inn?
But
It's not been resolved yet.
But I know there was
It's a
discussion,
planning board issue.
no, but there was discussion between the maintenance of the sidewalk and the parking lot spaces, and I didn't finish the meeting, so that's my own fault.
It was mainly over the snow
Yeah.
and.
Right, but I thought I heard Selectman Dawson talking about, well, what benefit to the town is there, how that, he has the parking spaces there that he can use after.
The Mill Street parking lot, what
Yeah, but
benefit
then-
is
He
that?
wants to,
He wants to use the parking spaces that the town has in his adjacent, like, they're landlocked in a sense.
that's right. He
And-
wants us to share the parking.
Right, but let's kind of think outside the box. Who's really going to use those parking spaces after dark? His people. But maybe is there a benefit for the town if we go back to him and say, you have to contribute X amount of dollars to landscaping for the park? That puts it ahead for the town, I think. That's just me thinking outside the box. So I'll shut up now.
That businesses use those spaces quite a bit.
They do, yeah.
I'm just trying to think outside the box here. Let's, then maybe we'll only put $7,000 back in, because he's contributed
We
$3.
have to seriously consider a grant that gave us the ability to build the park, which says it has to be accessible to certain folks, handicapped, so on and so forth. And if we don't have those parking spaces available,
Yep.
then we're at fault.
I just wanted to point out something that both John and Pat mentioned, that when John was talking about the additional hours available per week, and Pat was talking about the leadership, I think I've always felt that, you have to look at the capacity utilization of the number of hours available and the work to be done. But the new fellow really doesn't have a feel and wasn't really handed a real playbook, if you will, to go about things. And they're also discovering things that should have been done or hadn't been done in a while, or, just for different reasons. Not anyone to blame necessarily, but once he develops that capacity utilization, it should be pretty easy to look at it and say, okay, so many hours are dedicated for, not only the cemeteries for mowing, but the parks and so on and so forth. And a certain amount of ditching has to happen per year, 120 hours of ditching, whatever it is. And then he can start to formulate a plan, much like how you formulate the budget, and start allocating those resources. And also, if you think about it, not every one of his people is going to perform at the same level. So his capacity utilization might be mixed, because of his resources. But I have a lot of faith in him, and I think he's going to be able to develop that kind of plan to where it will be much more clear for anyone, including the Budget Committee, looking at it saying, well, why can't you? And then, he would be able to hopefully give a more clear cut, well, this is what we do, and this is how much time it takes, and I could if I had this, or yes, we can handle it.
Okay.
The answer is,
All right, well, we
Yeah, I
have
think
a
so.
motion on the floor.
Okay,
So-
it
I
was
had
seconded.
one more question. I'm probably going to abstain because I want to wait to see what the incomes and all those other numbers, because I think we've got an incomplete financial report. There's a lot of information that's not there, what's left over, and
Oh, we still have to vote.
we don't have the previous amounts like we request from everybody else. We don't have
From whom?
from the parks, their income stream that they've been getting.
I can get that for you for
You
your
can get
next
that
meeting.
to us.
But it's not much, though.
It's not a lot. It's not a
No,
lot.
so
but,
it's really
Yeah, I
not
felt
worth,
satisfied knowing that there wasn't a lot.
And also, I've heard from different commissioners that they may end up paying more to that landscaper, so I don't know if they've resolved.
Okay, but we got a motion on the floor, we
Yeah.
gotta, okay. So we have a motion on the floor and a second to put back in the $10,000 that we took out. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed?
I'm going to abstain from voting.
I'm sure.
I'm
Are you voting?
Up to you.
I'm on the fence. Can I give .5 vote to a yay and .5 vote to a no?
That's abstaining.
Yes, and then the motion would pass.
Yeah.
Say no, and the motion is going to pass.
So,
either way.
yeah, anyway,
Thanks, Eric.
sorry. Half a vote, yeah, so it's like 2.5.
No.
I just had another question, but it's too late.
Point.
I'm hesitant to say yes. Reluctant.
A hesitant yes.
Reluctant yes.
Okay,
Yay.
all right. Okay, so the $10,000 goes back in.
Well,
All right, is there anything else tonight?
Do we meet next week?
I was going to suggest that we not meet next week. No meeting next week, and then meet the next week. Is that okay?
yeah.
All right.
Just
All in
for the
favor?
public hearing?
This for the public hearing, is that?
There will more than likely be some revisions from the selectmen based on some changes they made last week. So I'll send that out prior to the public hearing, so if you need to meet
Okay.
again
Are
before
you going to
that.
meet a half hour before the public hearing?
We'll meet a half hour before the public hearing,
We
because,
can address those changes.
yeah,
Because what they're going to be proposed to the selectmen tomorrow night.
okay?
Okay.
So a half hour early? All right, and a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?